right, folks, we are back here. We just came from our first commercial break. Yes, on WLTH 1370 AM. This is Issues and Answers with Scott Cannon and Reverend Delwyn Campbell. Our number is 219-885-1371.
That's right.
Yes, coming up in the next hour, we're going to definitely talk about the city of Gary, Indiana. The greatest city in all the world, folks.
Yes, indeed.
And the the pitfalls that come with being the greatest city in all the world. But now, did you see, Rev, the first-hand accounts at the January 6th commission?
Well, I didn't see it, but I was looking forward when I got your note today to hearing all about it. I do remember, when the thing was first happening and the interviews and things like that from the police officers that were on site. So, I guess I could say I would like to read about it in the paper in the morning.
Oh, yes. So to provide some context, folks, 4 police officers on Tuesday told lawmakers that they were beaten, taunted with racial insults, heard threats including kill him with his own gun, and thought they might die as they struggled to defend the U.S. Capitol on January 6th against a mob of Trump supporters. They were often tearful, sometimes profane. The officers called the rioters terrorists, engaged in an attempted coup during a 3.5-hour congressional hearing in which they also criticized Republican lawmakers who have sought to downplay the attack. It was a dramatic first hearing for a Democratic-led House of Representatives committee formed despite opposition by Trump's fellow Republicans to investigate the worst violence at the Capitol since the British invasion in the War of 1812. Now, I am no fan of liberals, Rev. You know this a lot of time, of the sellout corporate wing of the Democratic Party I call the liberals. Okay. But in this case, I am very disappointed even in some people on the left, the actual left, not the liberal left. And I don't even really rate the people on the right wing to have any common sense about this. But people who are downplaying this attack by Trump supporters at the Capitol, it is, I really it's hard for me to really understand where they're coming from. Because like I was telling somebody this not too long ago, in a first world country, when is the last time you saw the most powerful building in a government seized upon by citizens who are trying to overthrow the results of a democratic election, and we're actually threatening to kill all the lawmakers inside of the most powerful building in the country?
You said first world.
First world, yes, not Haiti or something.
Okay. Well, I mean, during the 70s, there was a lot of stuff going on in Europe.
Yeah.
With terrorist groups.
Yeah.
On the other hand, America has always been kind of laissez-faire about that sort of stuff. And by and large, we've never really had, since Shays' Rebellion or I guess the Civil War. It's the biggest we've ever had of you could call an insurrection. Generally speaking, and this is one of the things that the hard communists found so disconcerting about America, was that most of the American proletariat was pretty content.
Yeah. And so when I see them downplaying this, like this is some of the testimony from the officers. It is bleeped out. I checked some because it gets hardcore in places. But yes, this is pretty.
One of the invaders approached me like he was going to try to get past me and head down the stairs. I hit him, knocking him down. I told him to just leave the Capitol. In response, they yelled, "No, man, it's our house. President Trump invited us here. We're here to stop the steal. Joe Biden is not the president. Nobody voted for Joe Biden." I'm a law enforcement officer, and I do my best to keep politics out of my job. But in this circumstance, I responded, "Well, I voted for Joe Biden. Does my vote not count? Am I nobody?" That prompted a torrent of racial epithets.
He's black, by the way.
One woman in a pink MAGA shirt yelled, "You hear that, guys? This voted for Joe Biden." Then the crowd, perhaps around 20 people, joined in screaming, "Boo!"
Oof.
No one had ever called me a while wearing the uniform of a Capitol Police officer. In the days following the attempted insurrection, other Black officers shared with me their own stories of racial abuse on January 6th. One officer told me he had never, in his entire 40 years of life, been called a to his face, and that streak ended on January 6th. Yet another Black officer later told me he had been confronted by insurrectionists in the Capitol who told him, "Put your gun down and we'll show you what kind of you really are."
Woo.
At one point, I came face to face with an attacker who repeatedly lunged for me and attempted to remove my firearm. I heard chanting from the crowd, "Get his gun," and kill him with his own gun. I was aware enough to recognize I was at risk of being stripped of, killed with my own firearm. I was electrocuted again and again and again with a taser. What makes the struggle harder and more painful is to know so many of my fellow citizens, including so many of the people I put my life at risk to defend, are downplaying or outright denying what happened. The indifference shown to my colleagues is disgraceful.
To my perpetual confusion, I saw the thin blue line flag, a symbol of support for law enforcement, more than once, being carried by the terrorists as they ignored our commands and continued to assault us. The mob of terrorists were coordinating their efforts now, shouting "heave, ho," as they synchronized, pushing their weight forward, crushing me further against the metal door frame. The man in front of me grabbed my baton that I still held in my hands, and in my current state, I was unable to retain my weapon. He bashed me in the head and face with it, rupturing my lip and adding additional injury to my skull.
I too was being crushed by the rioters. I could feel myself losing oxygen and recall thinking to myself, this is how I'm going to die, defending this entrance. We did not receive timely reinforcement and support we needed. In contrast, during the Black Lives Matter protests last year, U.S. Capitol Police had all the support we needed and more.
I bet they did.
There are some who express outrage when someone kneels while calling for social justice. Where are those same people expressing the outrage to condemn the violence attack on law enforcement, the Capitol, and our American democracy? We're waiting for them.
Yeah, that was a multi-generational litany of officers testifying about what happened at the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. As you hear, look, I'm no fan of, the sort of the way we use our police in this country to sort of tamp down any type of political movements. You can easily go on YouTube any day and see officers pepper spraying people who are marching peacefully or people who are even on their knees. But these guys, this is not that. And that's the sort of ironic thing, as you heard one of the officers say, these are the same people who claim that they love the police. And when Colin Kaepernick or NFL players are kneeling to talk about police brutality, oh my God, you guys are the worst people living. You guys are disrespecting the troops. You're disrespecting America. Meanwhile, on January 6th, these are the people who are bashing police officers over the head with a fire extinguisher.
Yeah.
They were literally trying to kill these guys, get his gun and kill him with his own gun. And you have people, like I said, even some people on the left, I understand the instinct is to call out liberals for being overly dramatic. Obviously, liberals use Trump, and they've always used Trump as an excuse to be feckless and not get anything accomplished and to avoid looking in the mirror when they're inadequate within themselves. I talk about that every week on this show. But in this case, in this one single case, I have to agree more with the mainstream of the corporate Democratic Party than even a lot of people on the left, in which I consider myself a member of, and definitely of the right wing. This is not something you see in first world countries, folks. This is not, what you saw on January 6th, where you had thousands of people looking for. I mean, I couldn't even play a lot of the body cam footage from the police officers, the type of epithets being shouted, not just in the sense of, well, we hate you or we don't like you. Nancy Pelosi, we're coming for you, bleep.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they were coming to hang Mike Pence. They were screaming, hang Mike Pence. You can hear that on a lot of the body camera. That is not stuff you hear in first world countries when people are seizing the capital of said first world country. That sounds like something that would happen in Haiti. You know, when we just saw their president get assassinated.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound like something that you would hear in America, where you would have the most powerful government building on the planet, arguably, seized on by people who want to overturn a democratic election. Even Trump's people, Bill Barr, and others, Mike Pence, those people have all said, look, the election, you may not have liked the election results, but they were legit results. That, I mean, they would have loved to have another go in the White House. I'm sure they would have. But for people to not take this seriously, and there's no doubt that if this was, say, the Black Panthers or something, who, when they went up in the California State House in the 70s peacefully, they didn't even hurt nobody. They scared, with their rifles, they scared Ronald Reagan and them so bad that Ronald Reagan and the NRA came up with gun control. They was like, you know, they were exercising their Second Amendment rights, but that's scary to us, so we have to get gun control to make sure that Black people can never come up to the Capitol and just stand and express their Second Amendment rights.
Yeah.
And it's very frustrating to see a lot of people, even a lot of people on the left, downplay what happened. So what do you remember about January 6th, Rev? What were you thinking when it was happening? I know what I was thinking.
Well, I was pretty certain that whatever they were planning on doing, that the situation was going to be brought under control.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually surprised that forces hadn't been deployed against it as soon as, you know, news got out that this was going on.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like for some reason, and I don't know what that reason was, but for some reason, they were prepared to let people get hurt.
Yeah.
Or maybe they thought that these people wouldn't really do what the video footage seems to indicate they were doing. And I know people right now who I am, you know, acquainted with, who will tell me that, you know, that was what you saw. That's a media bias presenting it that way. That everybody wasn't doing that. Well, my thoughts are, why was anybody doing it?
Right.
You know, why was anybody breaking into the Capitol building? Why was anybody physically attacking anybody? Why was anybody doing that?
Right.
Who says that they respect the rule of law and they're trying to prevent an unlawful event from taking place? You don't. The old saying goes, 2 wrongs don't make a right. They just don't. And so, you know, my attitude towards it all is, well, we've got the video. We know some of these people. Find them, prosecute them, and if found guilty, sentence them. You know, but to my thinking, that's what the FBI is for.
Right.
See, I do have a problem with Congress doing this.
Oh, now that I can
because
understand.
That's not their job.
Okay.
Their job is to craft laws and, you know, manage our budget, make sure that the executive office has a proper budget, and look out for the interest of their states. That's their job.
There's absolutely a show trial element to this.
Yeah. Look, it's just like the thing, and I'm not changing the subject at all. It's like the thing about with the Trump tax papers.
Oh, you're right.
Okay, now he's a citizen. So if he's done some tax fraud, well, that's what the IRS is supposed to take care of. That's not Congress's job. It's amazing the things that go on today in governance. And if it's because it's the guys that we like, our team,
Yep.
we think it's okay. And if it's not our team, we think it's bad. I just want my government to do its job. If they won the vote and they won the seat, okay, you got the seat now. You got your allotted amount of time to earn that seat again. So in the meantime, do your job and I'll consider voting for you.
Right. Is that too much to ask, folks? Just do your job, Congress. Just do your doggone job.
Because the people that were in this thing, the ones that tried to break in, the ones that assaulted cops, and so on and so forth, we've got them on film.
Yeah.
We've got the witnesses. Let's let the legal system do its job.
Right.
Because I don't even know what. Let's say, okay, they're going to do their investigation. Then what?
Yeah, it's a show. Like I said, it's a show, but because it's a show doesn't mean that it's not a big deal. That's what I'm saying. Because,
it's a big deal.
Yeah.
It's a big enough deal that, as far as I'm concerned, there should be an FBI investigation. There should be an investigation regarding the chain of command, right, and why the chain of command responded the way it did. But that's what the job of the district attorney and also the U.S. attorney is for. Since it happened in Washington, D.C., it happened on federal property, but still outside of the bounds of the federal property. That's the city of Washington, D.C. police. They could have had a role to play in tamping that thing down as well. Why was that allowed to get the way it got?
I absolutely agree. We got to go to another break, Rev. Please give us a call, 219-885-1371. And when we come back, we're going to get into these strikes. Labor is finally fighting back against the greed.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised because I always thought that the Pepsi drivers made really good money.
Well, we'll talk about that when we get back here. We'll talk about that when we get back here on WLTH 1370 AM. Please give us a call.
You are listening to Scott and the Rev on WLTH 1370 AM. Give us a call, 219-885-1371.